Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Final Take. I'm Curtis Round. Joining me tonight are Ben Zatuni and Nathan Hansen. Valentine's weekend, gentlemen, how was it?
It's fine. Nothing special.
It was a good one.
Short, sweet, to the point. I like it. Well, tonight we discuss the latest in Pointers athletics, along with college basketball, the start of the MLB Spring Training, the NBA trade deadline, and the start of the NFL offseason. We begin tonight with men's basketball. The Pointers picked up a pair of wins last week when they defeated Stout 65-61 on the road, and then took down Eau Claire 74-63 on Senior Day Saturday afternoon. Sean McGann scored a game-high 17 points, while fellow senior Stephen Pelkoffer added 12. Ethan Bublitz and Zach Gadeke chipped in 16 and 11 points respectively. Ben, I'll start with you. What will you remember most about this year's senior class?
I don't know. I'd probably have to say going back to last season.
Where's the enthusiasm? You sound down about this class
it's been a little bit of a down, kind of a difficult season for them. So
they're
probably
young though. They're a young team.
I'd have to say probably going back to last year, that tournament run they went on, going on to win the national championship. They were lucky that they got to play all their games at home. They had that awesome home court advantage, and then once they got to Salem for the Final Four, they just ran everybody over.
Yeah, to echo Ben, I think you have to go back to last year. I think Stephen Pelkoffer and Sean McGann were better as role players. They really excelled in that role last year, just coming off the bench and adding their minutes, not having to take on as big a burden as they have this year, because they've kind of struggled with that big burden, but They've been great leaders for the most part from this.
They didn't take on a big burden this year. I mean, they had to pretty much lead this team this year. How did they take on a bigger burden? These guys were bench players last year. You made that point, and then you say they didn't have a big burden.
No, I said they have, but they haven't succeeded with the big burden they've had to take on this year.
I mean, you look at Pelkoffer. I don't know how you don't think he succeeded. The guy was putting up high 20, 25, sometimes 30 points in a game. How didn't he succeed that at all?
The status of this team is not great.
You don't know what you're talking about here. Well, Ben, I don't know. You guys just seem a little. I get it. They fell this past year because they're a young team. They don't have a lot. They don't have this big senior class like last year. They didn't go. They're not probably going to go to the championship, but it's still stuff to build on. This is a young team. Look at the women's. They were young last year, and look where they are now. I mean,
it is, but that's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about the seniors.
Here a little bit here. The Pointers are now 6-6 in the WIAC with a 2-game lead over Platteville for the final spot in the conference tournament and a matchup against the Pioneers this Wednesday. Nate, we'll start with you. Do the Pointers get the road win and clinch a spot in the conference tournament?
I think they do. I think they will go decently far in the conference tournament. I think they'll win a few games. And Coach Semling talked about this Saturday when he talked about the seniors after he spoke to the crowd a little bit, and he said he wanted to win a few more games, and he said these guys are ready to win a few more games, and I think they are ready. They're not ready to be done with the season after Saturday, so I think they'll win at Platteville.
I think they do. Like Nate said after the game on Saturday, Coach Semling was kind of talking about the seniors, and one thing that he said that I agree with, if they win those games and they get into the tournament, then anything can happen. Once you're in the tournament, anything can happen.
Well, the Pointers then conclude the regular season on Saturday when they travel to La Crosse. Let's move on to women's basketball now. The Pointers split their games last week when they defeated Stout 63-51, and then they lost 59-57 at Eau Claire. Ali Maselli led the Pointers in the win against Stout with 16 points and 12 rebounds, with Taylor Douglas scoring 14. In the loss at Eau Claire, Lauren Anklem had 16 points, with Lexi Rowland chipping in 12 and Mickey Rowland adding 10 herself. The Pointers have been up and down the last couple games. Ben, we'll start with you. How can they put a full game together? They got to start going because it's conference tournament play here soon, and then we all know about the big NCAA tournament.
I think that this is going to sound kind of obvious, but they have to play smart basketball. They can't be making the lazy passes, not looking where they're passing, and then they also have to capitalize on the defensive end of the court, doing well when they're guarding and then getting the rebounds off the shots.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have up and downs throughout the season no matter what sport. And I think that's exactly what this team has gone through this year. They lost their leading scorer halfway through the year, Autumn Hennes, to a torn ACL, and they still, honestly, I think they're still trying to figure out exactly who plays what role in this offense and defensively as well. And I think they'll win. I think hopefully that these struggles that they've had putting a full game together are behind them. Hopefully that's something they leave in the regular season and they advance in the conference tournament. I think they've played well throughout this conference, and they've really showed flashes of being able to beat every team in this conference. And I think they have a great chance in this conference, in the conference tournament, to do just that. Excuse me.
Well, yeah, they're playing these next 2 games. I think they have Platteville and then Saturday's lacrosse.
Yeah.
Both of these teams aren't very good. There's a time for them to bounce back and maybe build something going into that tournament. Speaking of that, they wrap up the regular season games with tomorrow on Wednesday and Saturday games against Platteville lacrosse. We will be calling the Platteville game, so stay tuned for that one tomorrow. Well, moving on to the ice right now, the men's hockey team split their final 2 games of the season, defeating Stout 5-2 on Friday before falling 2-1 to Eau Claire on Saturday. The win against Stout put the Pointers in first in the WIAC. However, the loss to Eau Claire and a win by River Falls dropped the Pointers to third in the final standings. Pointers will have this weekend off before traveling to Eau Claire for the WIAC semifinals. Start with you, Ben. Can the Pointers go on the road and win the conference tournament?
I think they can, but it'll be difficult. Eau Claire, the game on Saturday at the time, Eau Claire was ranked, I believe, 8th in the nation. So it's going to be a tough battle between the 2 top 10 teams in the nation, but I think the team's going to get it done.
Yeah, no doubt in my mind they win this conference tournament. I mean, you look at the loss they had against Eau Claire on Saturday. I think they outshot Eau Claire 44-9, I believe. So they really had control of that game. They just didn't capitalize on those opportunities. And I mean, Eau Claire was kind of out hitting them. It looked like they were out hustling them for the most part of that game, and the Pointers still hung in there. I mean, they scored a goal with, less than 5 minutes to go when they pulled their goalie. So they just need to put it together. I think they'll be fine. I think it's just a one-game thing, and they still had control of that game, so it's not like they were playing from behind or just had a bad – I think they just had a bad night.
I'm calling it now. I think Stevens Point's bringing home another national championship, and it's going to be with the hockey team, and I'll tell you why. This team, they went in, they beat the number 1 team, Adrian. They go in, beat Stout. They're on their high horse. They get knocked down by Eau Claire, and it kind of set them back and realized, all right, we need to play humble, stick to it, play aggressive, and stick to ourselves and not be all this overhyped and, oh, we beat the number 1 team, no one's going to beat us. This, I think, was a perfect thing for them to lose a game, have a setback, and then just build off of that going into the conference tournament and then later into the NCAA tournament. We move on to women's hockey now. They clinched the 2nd place in WIAC tournament by defeating Superior 6-1 on Friday night. And then they skated to a 2-2 tie on Saturday. In the 6-1 win, the Pointers got goals from 6 different players as they broke a 1-1 tie with 4 goals in the second period. On Saturday, Emily Lester scored a goal with 37 seconds left to give the game its final margin. The Pointers are now 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. Nate, what has been the key to their success so far?
I think just moving on and just getting experience. I mean, we talk about all the time about these teams being young, and this hockey team was very young. And they've kind of learned how to play close games. And last year they struggled with that. This year they won almost all of their 1-goal games that they've had. And I think it's shown in the last 10. They have 8 wins in the last 10, and they have 1 loss out of those 10. I think they're rolling really good, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon.
I think that whether it's a win or a loss, they learn to move on from that to the next thing, and they don't really let what happened in the past bother them. If it's a win, they celebrate that, put that in the back of their head, move on. If it's a loss, they look at what they did wrong, try to fix that, and then move on to the next game.
Well, the Pointers close out the regular season on Saturday when they host Concordia, Wisconsin at IceHawks Arena. On to the wrestling mat now. The Pointers finished 3rd at the WIAC Championships on Sunday in the Quant Gym. Ben Vossers was the individual champion at 125 pounds. Logan Hermson finished 2nd at 165. And as did Dan Squires at 174. Jared Cuss, Joe Cook, and Cody Nielsen all finished 3rd at the respective weights. After the meet, Squires was named to the all-sportsmanship team, and Cuss was honored as a Max Sparger Scholar Athlete. What stood out to you, Ben, about this Pointers season on the mat?
I think it's kind of the same focus across all of Pointer athletics. Last year they had a young team. They struggled a little bit, but the young wrestlers were able to build off their first and second seasons and move on to this year and build upon that. And I think you saw the results.
Yeah, it's just getting on the mat more and just getting better. And I think as much as we talk about wrestling as a team thing, it's a very individual sport with guys, and there was improvement all across the board, every weight class this year. I mean, Ben Voster's winning at 125, Donnie Relson at 285. He took third, I believe, third or fifth, so they were all up there through every weight class. They were there. But unfortunately, they couldn't do it as a team. They finished third for like the fifth straight year. So they got guys that can get the job done, though.
Yeah, they're usually a decent team every year, and like you said, it is more individual. You got to work on your craft, get on the mat, practice, lift weights, and that's all what happens. And if you do that, you're most of the time successful. If you're not going to put in the time, it's going to show on the wrestling mat.
Yep.
Well, the Pointers will hit the road for this Friday for a duel with 7th-ranked Augsburg. We will take a quick break. When we return, we discuss Wisconsin Badgers, college hoops, and the NBA trade deadline.
Interested in TV and like to talk about sports? Then Final Take is the thing for you. Final Take films every Tuesday at 4 p.m. in the CAC Room 121. Come and join the fun. At Final Take, anything Pointers, anything sports.
Got an itch to be on air? Join the SPTV News crew. Being an on and off-air reporter will help you gain experience in interviewing, shooting and editing video, and reporting behind the anchor desk. Join SPTV News, pointing to you.
My name is Jackie Lang. I graduated from UW Stevens Point in 2013. I started off coming to general members meetings, showing up for the shows. From the first show that I was a part of, I just absolutely loved it. Now that I've graduated, I currently work at WFRV TV, which is Channel 5, the CBS affiliate in Green Bay. I also freelance for Lashbro Visual Communications. All of my experience, all of my knowledge came from SPTV, and I will forever be grateful to this organization for that.
On to college basketball now. Wisconsin Badgers men's basketball team extended its winning streak to 7 games by defeating Nebraska and second-ranked Maryland last week. Vito Brown averaged 9.5 points in the 2 games to lead the Badgers to a victory. Badgers are now up to 5th place in the Big Ten and just a half game behind Michigan for 4th. Has Greg Gard done enough to retain his job? Ben, we'll start with you.
I think he has. Like you just read, that they've won 7 straight games, and you think about at the beginning of the season when Bo Ryan was still their coach, they were struggling, and there was talk about them even missing the tournament come March. But Greg Gard took over kind of around Christmas break, and it took the players and him a little bit to kind of adjust and get acclimated to that. But I think you've seen the success pay off, and like the game on Saturday against Maryland, that got him the job.
Barry Alvarez, get your wallet out. You're paying this man. Greg Gard should be this coach. There's no other reason that they've won 7 games in a row right now besides the coaching. That's a great. I mean, obviously the players play the game, the coaches coach, but this coaching job has been just amazing from Greg Gard to come into this just as an assistant, to play with guys that don't really know what their roles are yet, and to create those roles for them and have them succeed in those roles is incredible. And this 7-game winning streak in the Big Ten is not something that I expected this season, especially early on, especially after a big loss to Western Illinois, which I was not expecting. And I mean, some of those teams, the Big Ten, you're gonna lose some games no matter what, no matter who you are. You're not gonna go undefeated, that's for sure. But the Badgers have done an incredible job, and they've set themselves up to have a decent seed in the NCAA tournament.
They ain't going to go anywhere. Well, the Badgers have a road game against a ranked opponent as they travel to play 9th-ranked Michigan State on Thursday. The Badgers beat the Spartans 77-76 at the Kohl Center to start the win streak. Can the Badgers knock off the Spartans again?
It's going to be tough. Michigan State's one of those arenas where they have a great student section and it's always tough to win there, but I think they do. I think they're just going to keep on rolling off this momentum that they've been building up.
I'm going to say no. I mean, Michigan State's very tough. Denzel Valentine's back.
Wait, hold on here, Nate. You just basically made it sound like the Badgers are one of the best teams in college basketball. Now you're saying they're going to lose this week. Make up your mind here.
Yeah, they're going to lose this week. Michigan State's a great team. They're a top 10 team.
Oh,
they're
Lord.
After this game, though, after Michigan State game, they'll go on another winning streak because they play Illinois, so that'll be another good start to another long streak, hopefully.
Unbelievable. Well, the Badgers then host Illinois on Sunday night. Around the rest of the country, we'll move on to Kansas, topping Oklahoma for the second time this year, 76-72. Duke knocked off Virginia 63-62, and Stanford upset Oregon 76-72, and Michigan State topped Purdue 61-56. Who do you guys see as a top team this year?
That's a difficult question, if any. I think there obviously are. I don't really see any team as a top team because you've seen up and down the top 10 rankings. Teams are either moving up or falling every week. So I don't really think there's a definite group of top teams this season.
Yeah, I think the one team we got to look at right now, though, is Kansas. I mean, they beat Oklahoma twice, and they're just moving up in that tough Big 12. I mean, they beat Oklahoma State, which is a formidable Big 12 team for sure, and they're just moving up and up and up. So we'll see how they do come tournament time, but I think Villanova is going to fall. Being at number one, they've kind of had a soft schedule being in the Big East, so I think they're a little overhyped right now. And I think other teams, like Oregon's falling right now, they got to turn it around. I think that's a team that people are kind of looking at being a bit of a dark horse coming into tournament play, but I think they got to turn it around right now. There's a couple other teams that are kind of on the brink there, but I think right now Kansas is top dog.
Now, let's talk about who do you think in the NCAA tournament, looking ahead a little bit, who's going to be a dark horse surprise team like Creighton and Dayton and Florida Gulf Coast? Well, if you had someone right now that you would pick to see make a little bit of run and maybe upset a few teams, who do you got in that one?
I think a team that's probably sounds familiar is North Carolina. I mean, they haven't been talked about for a while. I think they dropped out of top 10 recently. But they've got a tough squad. Marcus Page leads those guys. And, I mean, last year they had a nice run to the Sweet 16. Nobody thought about them at all last year. Nobody's really talking about them now. So I think that's another team that'll kind of make a run.
I think North Carolina's too good. Give me a better answer, Ben.
I don't know. This will kind of sound like a little bit of Big Ten homerism, but I'm going to go with Iowa. They've had success. They've been a little bit of an up and down team this season, but I think if they can get into the tournament, they're going to go far.
Well, it is rivalry week in the Tobacco Road matchup when Duke travels to North Carolina, and you just mentioned them. What is your guys' take on playing this and seeing this rivalry?
I think it's one of the best rivalries in college sports, whether they're playing at North Carolina or playing at Cameron Indoor on Duke's campus. It's going to be a great game either way.
I think rivalries in general are just the best part about college sports, especially college basketball. When you have two historic programs going at each other, and a lot of historic coaches for sure, with Roy Williams, Coach K. I mean, you got coaches everywhere that are big names, John Calipari, Bill Self, all those guys. So I think North Carolina, especially in this Duke, that's the best college basketball matchup right now. When you think of college basketball, you think of Duke and North Carolina, you think of Christian Laettner and his battles, and Michael Jordan, his battles at North Carolina. So I think there's a lot of those guys. And Grayson Allen, you traveled in that last game against Virginia.
Let's go to the NBA now. The trade deadline is this Thursday. We have 4 players who have their name tossed around, and it could be on the move very shortly here. So we're going to talk about them and who, if you guys think they should be traded or not, and where they should go. And we'll start with Blake Griffin, and we'll start with them. Ben, where do you got him going? If at all.
I don't see the Clippers trading him. I think the West is the tougher of the two conferences, but I think the Clippers can get on a little bit of a run and secure one of the last few seeds. If they trade Blake Griffin, I don't really see them going anywhere near to the playoffs.
Yeah, and they've been better without Blake Griffin for whatever reason. They've been like 17-3 in the last 20 without him. So they've been fine without him. But I think a lot of the problem with the NBA trade deadline is these big guys that you kind of want to get off your roster, like Dwight Howard and even Kevin Love to some extent, are guys with big salaries too, and they're guys that are going to be impending free agents. And if you trade them to a team, the team that they're going to get traded to probably isn't going to re-sign them in the next year. So that's why a lot of teams are hesitant to do a lot of deals. But guys like Jeff Teague possibly is a good name.
Yeah, we're getting to that. Slow down here, Nate. Slow down here.
I think there's other guys like Iman Shumpert, littler name guys with not huge contracts are going to be the ones that possibly get moved.
Let's go and next up to Dwight Howard. No one ever hears about this guy anymore. We'll start with you.
Yeah, D12. I think he's done. No one wants him. They talk across the league that Houston's trying to get rid of him. He's got a big salary too. I think he's going to be a free agent, but nobody really wants to take that risk on him.
I think he does get traded. He's pretty much done absolutely nothing with the Rockets. The Rockets were picked as him and James Harden. They were kind of picked as a team to go far in the Western Conference, but I think he gets traded, and I don't know. I saw the Heat as one of the possible teams, so I think Dwight Howard to the Heat.
We'll start with you on this one. Kevin Love, do you see him moving at all?
Oh, man, I don't know. That Cleveland's a mess. I mean, you go back to them firing David Blatt, and the GM's like, LeBron plays for the team. He doesn't. Everybody knows LeBron wanted David Blatt fired, and everybody also knows that LeBron and Kevin Love don't get along, so yeah, I see Kevin Love traded. I don't.
You got a team at all?
No, I don't. I just think that he's going to get traded.
What about Jeff Teague?
I think Jeff Teague's guy gets traded, possibly the Knicks especially, because they're kind of a contender in that East a little bit of dark horse, and they're really needing a point guard.
Well, coming up on Final Take, we're going to talk MLB Spring Training and also some questions around the NFL offseason. Stay tuned. Got outplayed.
Is there a reason why?
Got outplayed, bro.
Is it pretty much what you'd seen on film from Denver? Anything different they put into this game?
Nothing different.
Do we sometimes forget that defenses can still take apart the offenses in this game?
No.
What did Coach Riviera say after the game?
Said a lot of things.
Anything in particular that was memorable?
Nope. With pitchers and catchers reporting this week, it is time for baseball spring training. Ben, we'll start with you. What are the thoughts on all the moves the Brewers have made so far?
I like it. I like the fact that they're fully committed to the
Houston Astros way. Let's just say
they're going to be
rebuild.
I like the fact that they're fully committed to rebuilding. It's better to go full in than kind of like trying to rebuild and win at the same time. I like the trades they've been making. I'm glad they finally got rid of Chris Davis. That was probably the number one move at the top of my list that I wanted the Brewers to do this offseason was get rid of Chris Davis, and they finally did.
Yeah, we'll see a crush Davis. It's about time he leaves. But, I mean, this guy's really torn up this whole Brewers roster. I think 20 guys out of the 40-man roster aren't even on this team anymore. So he's made a lot of moves this year, and they've been good moves, bringing some young guys, some guys that have potential. They're obviously not going to win this year. They probably weren't going to win with the roster they had anyway, especially in the NL Central. And you got the Cubs, the Cardinals, the Pirates, even the Reds to some extent are there. So there's a lot of teams that they have to try to overcome, and they're just not going to do it yet. And I like the fact that David Stearns knows that, and he's gotten players that he's comfortable with and know what they're capable of being with. Most of the guys that they've got are from the Astros, or David Stearns knows them at some point. So I like the moves he's made for sure.
So you guys are comfortable with the Brewers probably losing the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, right around 65 wins, close to 100 some losses. But I think that with them losing, you're going to be able to see some of the prospects. You're going to see them develop in the minor leagues, and then you're going to see them come up. Maybe Orlando Arcia at shortstop this year, and a couple years down the road, the catcher they just got from the A's, Jacob Nottingham. Dude's like 6'3", 225 pounds. They found a replacement for Jonathan Lucroy so they can move on with dealing Lucroy, but I'm excited to see Nottingham and 3 seasons about. He's going to be a monster.
What I'm excited for, I think, is that the Brewers, the ticket sales are going to probably be down, so we all can go and afford a game. And hopefully the concession stands are down, too, so you can grab yourself a popcorn and hot dog.
Maybe, we'll see.
Let's move on now to the NFL. The season is over. I'll just start with one headline, and we'll move on from there. What do you guys think of all this hype? I mean, it's finally some quarterback in the NFL is being talked about besides Cam Newton. It's Peyton Manning with this sexual assault scandal that's been going on that he did back in 1998, somewhere around there in Tennessee. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I haven't really read that much into it, but from what I've heard, I believe there is an incident in.
I mean, what's your thoughts? I don't need to know. We know what it's about. What's your thoughts on it?
If it's true, I think it's pretty disturbing. It's disgusting that he would do that, but I guess we'll just have to see take some time and see what comes out from it.
Yeah, it's something he definitely can't get a pass for. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. If you have some allegations this big, this large, you got to take a look at it. I mean, this isn't something we can just talk about and then forget about in a couple weeks. I think this is something that really needs to be looked into, and it has to be closed. Whatever the results of it are, it has to be figured out some way.
And this is the problem I have with your guys' answers. Because if this was Cam Newton, you would have been calling him garbage and this is ridiculous. He shouldn't even be playing the NFL. We should wait for the decisions, to see if this is going to go on. Why is that? Why is you guys' answers change when it's Peyton Manning over Cam Newton? You both gave answers where we should wait and let's see what happens. And this is horrible if he did it. I mean, you'd be jumping down Cam Newton's throat right now if this guy did it, or anyone of that nature. I'm just not getting the change of answers when it comes to Peyton Manning over a Cam Newton, and I'm glad I brought this up. I really am.
Well, we both said that it was disgusting. If it was Cam Newton, we both would have said the same thing.
You've been jumping down his throats. I just see the change in answers here when we talk about.
Are you trying to play the race card again?
I am definitely trying to play the race card. Absolutely. I think you guys have different perspectives when it comes to a different player, and it's interesting to see. And the people at home did see it, so that is good.
No, this is something you have to take a look at. You can't jump to anything when it comes
Everyone's
to
jumping. Everyone's jumping when something happens to Cam Newton, but when it's Peyton Manning, high figure, the guy doesn't do anything wrong, and all of a sudden this scandal's been pushed to the side for 10, 20 years?
Because it's the NCAA. That's how everything the NCAA
garbage.
is.
It's garbage. I'm glad I brought this up. But that's all the time we have for here at Final Take. We thank everyone for tuning in with us. Thank Ben Zatuni and Nathan Hansen for joining me today with their insightful opinions on the debate desk. A big thanks to our technical staff and all their hard work to make this possible. Be sure to check us out on Facebook at SPTV WSP Television, or follow us on Twitter at SPTV _ UWSP. Also visit the UWSP homepage to locate all your Pointers athletic information. And just remember Stevens Point, here at Final Take, anything Pointers, anything sports.
Don't have a television? Don't worry. SPTV is available on demand at uwsp.edu/SPTV. Find your favorite shows on our website, plus links to all of our YouTube content. Stay up to date with SPTV news that includes information about campus and community happenings. And don't forget to like us on Facebook. We're SPTV-UWSP Television. SPTV. Let's make media together.
Like to talk about sports? Join Final Take every Tuesday at 4 p.m. At Final Take, anything Pointers, anything sports. Like to talk about sports? Join Final Take every Tuesday at 4 p.m. At Final Take, anything Pointers, anything sports.
My name is
is Julia Flaherty. I'm the current promotions director at SBTV. My job allows for me to have a lot of personal creative direction because that is the team environment that we instill here at SBTV. This past summer, I had the opportunity to write for hercampus.com as well as thedailyquirk.com. Personally, I feel that being involved with SBTV has really helped boost my confidence and my ability to network with other students. If student media is something that interests you, and even if you're not really sure what student media means, you should stop by our studios. We are looking forward to having you involved this year, and we cannot wait to make media with you.